I hope my story acts as a warning. I suppose I should really say our story. My wife and I retired to Thailand from Germany at the start of 2015. Therefore, this story is not your typical guy meets a girl in a bar and is scammed type of story. I think your channel does a really good job of sharing stories of people who have tried to have a go at things in Thailand. You're doing a great service, and for that I say thank you. That doesn't really soften the blow of what happened to us. A life-changing event, which we had very little recourse. I had worked all my life in quite a stressful job. A lot of international travel and a lot of hard work over the years. We used to live for a big portion of our time in the Middle East, which allowed us to save up some money for retirement. We hardly ever went back to Germany. We always kind of felt out of place there, so when the time came that I was due to retire, we began looking for a suitable destination that would fit our preferred lifestyle. Our children had already grown up and left home, each of them moving to different parts of the world with different dreams and ambitions. It's great to see your children succeeding in life, and we felt like we raised them well. Our search for retirement destinations began of all places in the Algarve in Portugal. We had fond memories of visiting there as a family for holidays and thought this could potentially be a great place to retire. We looked around at a few of the properties available for sale. We'd never owned a property as we didn't spend enough time in one place, so it was a dream of ours to be able to do this. While we really did like Portugal, we decided against it. We felt like it wasn't going to be for us. Even though, being from Germany and having German passports, we could move there without any restrictions whatsoever, we didn't just want to move somewhere because it was easy. We wanted to move somewhere that fit our lifestyle expectations. We also spent a bit of time on some of the Greek islands, and while they are very beautiful, we decided that the islands themselves are a bit too quiet for long-term living. So we completely put to bed the idea of retiring anywhere in Europe. We were not in any rush. That was the beauty of retirement. We were able to travel until we found the place that we thought was perfect. I raised the idea of going to South America and seeing some of the countries there, but my wife quickly put to bed that idea as quickly as I raised it. And while we both decided to head to Malaysia instead and see what it's like there. The My Second Home program looked like a great option. And we thought about Malaysia as we spent a lot of time in the Middle East. And of course, Malaysia is not the same as the Middle East, but we felt it might feel similar being a predominantly Muslim country. This wasn't the case at all. Malaysia was like nowhere we'd ever been. We'd never even holidayed there in the past, but we had spent a lot of time holidaying in Thailand, just to the north. We were really loving everything about Malaysia and thinking this could be our retirement destination. Penang especially had a feel that you just don't quite describe. We loved it and contacted a firm about the My Second Home program. We even checked out Singapore to the south, and while we could afford to live there, getting the visa to stay permanently was going to be too hard. We were not multimillionaires. As we were progressing with the My Second Home program in Malaysia, we took a trip to Thailand, a country we went to lots of times on holidays with the family. The differences, though, when you're on holiday versus when you're going to look at the country with the ideas of living there, are night and day. Now, our trip to Thailand would end up being a difficult decision. We spent a lot of time in Bangkok and headed down to the island of Koh Samui. Samui was somewhere we never visited before, and we fell in love with the island. Almost immediately, when we arrived, we decided that this place was for us. This is where we were going to live and retire and start a new chapter of our lives. When you know, you know, and we really did feel like we knew that this was going to be our paradise. We quickly decided to cancel everything we had going with regards to Malaysia. While we were still tempted by Penang, it just didn't have anything on the amazing island of Samui, and we reasoned that we could visit Malaysia any time we wanted without a problem. But we wanted to base ourselves in Thailand. The island of Koh Samui is a perfect location for anyone seeking tranquility, amazing natural beauty, but also the convenience of being able to buy a lot of what you might need. You are not really sacrificing on convenience by being here, and that is something that we valued immensely. We spent a week on the island before we would fly back to Bangkok, and we realised we needed to put a plan in place as to how we were actually going to make this happen. I had a reasonable income from a pension that would see us very well in Thailand, and we had a lump of savings that we wanted to use to purchase our dream property. We knew as far as we were not allowed to own land in Thailand, but we had sought legal advice which told us we could buy it in the name of a company. We could be 49% shareholders with voting rights that would outvote the 51% Thai shareholder. We were told this was legal and everybody did it, to buy properties in Thailand. We did speak to a lot of people who said they had done similar things and never had any issues, so we thought that would be the best way to secure our interests, and also make sure our property could be left to our children if something happened to us. We were yet to find a property, but at least we knew we would be secured when we did. It was then we went back to Bangkok. Now, we wanted to be on the island of Koh Samui, so we put all our affairs in order, sorted for ourselves retirement visas, opened bank accounts, got our insurance, and made our way to start our new lives. Initially, we rented a stunning pool villa. It was within budget, but the idea of owning somewhere made us feel a lot more comfortable, to be able to change it at will, and always have the security that it was there, made us feel more comfortable. So we began the search for a property that we'd be able to live in, that we could also own, and that would be our forever home. The property prices on the island for anything that we were looking for were not as cheap as you'd expect, given that we were in Thailand, but our budget was around 300,000 euros, and there was plenty on the market within that price range. We enlisted the help of a local real estate agent and looked at property after property until we found one that we fell in love with almost instantly. It was a beautiful single-story villa on a reasonable plot of land with its own private pool. We could picture ourselves living there, and we knew this would be our forever home. The person selling it was also a foreigner who owned it through a company, together with his Thai wife. His Thai wife was the majority shareholder, but he could outvote her. The legal team that we hired told us that we could simply change the shareholders in the company, and the property will be ours, because we were buying the company as opposed to the house. They made it seem like this was normal and happened all the time, and after speaking to many people, I suppose it is. In hindsight, starting our own company would have been the best option, but at the time, you do what you're told. We had a little issue when it came to knowing who the Thai shareholder should be. We didn't know anybody, and we didn't want to use a nominee as we knew that this was a bit of a grey area and could make us unstuck if things didn't go well further down the line. Our legal team, or should I say our lawyer, said it was nothing to worry about, but we did feel a bit uneasy with it, so we started to look for other options. The guy that was selling it said that his Thai wife could remain the 51% shareholder, and we would still have all the voting rights to be able to control the property through the company. This sounded like a great idea. What would be the difference between using her and another random nominee? She was already the shareholder, so we didn't see any issue with this. Our lawyer advised that it was fine. As long as the paperwork was in order, we should be good to go. We really liked the house and wanted it, and because our lawyer advised, and because many other people seemed to do similar kinds of things, we decided that we would take this route and purchase the company and make me the 49% shareholder. The thing that we were getting set up was called preference shares, where for every share I had 10 votes, and for every share that the 51% Thai shareholder had, she would have 1 vote. So there was no way for her to do anything without my say-so. This was meant to protect us and make sure we wouldn't have any problems in the future. The company also came with a bank account, which would mean I would need to be a director, but I didn't have a work permit, so that was an issue that we were having. The bank account in the company's name was signed for by our 51% shareholder, who, as just mentioned, to be the wife of the guy selling the house. Our lawyer advised that this wouldn't be a problem, because no money goes into the bank or comes out of it, apart from a piddling bit when you're doing your balance sheet at the end of the year. So I wasn't going to be a director of the company. His Thai wife was going to remain a director, and we thought this was all part of it, because they were selling the house and just wanted to help us be able to acquire it. When we finally pulled the trigger, we transferred the money in from our account overseas, and it landed in Thailand the day after. We went together with the sellers and their lawyer to the offices of my lawyer. I need to mention that our lawyer was in Bangkok. I was using one there as I thought this would be safer. Everything was arranged on that day. We even went with the lawyer to the government office that changed the shareholders on the company. Apparently you can do it online, but the previous owners had never bothered to set that up, so we had to go to the office to do it in person. This was a Bangkok registered company, which made the process easier. Within a few days, we paid the money, and I was a 49% shareholder of the company, with the remaining 51% still belonging to the old owner. We were shown some paperwork in Thai that said we had the preference shares and would be able to outvote and, in essence, control the company indefinitely. And just like that, the process was done and the property was ours. We were able to move in immediately. We flew down to Samui that very day with the keys to the property in hand, got ourselves a taxi to the house, and we were home. This was ours, and we were both elated that our retirement was coming to plan just as expected. We met some great neighbours, other retired couples who had done similar things, as well as some Thai people who lived in the area. We went out that evening to celebrate, and we couldn't believe that our dream had just come true. We spent the next few weeks getting the house to our liking, redecorating some of the rooms, adding a decking area outside next to the pool, and also building a bit of a shaded area where we could sit in the daytime. We wanted to spend as much of our time outdoors, so we set up the house to make sure that we could do just that. I even installed a barbecue area. One of the many dreams I had in retirement was to be able to laze around all day with a few beers, swimming in the pool, and barbecuing some meat. It sounded like paradise, and here we were, living it. The next few months went by uneventfully. We were having a fantastic time, living where we wanted to live, doing what we wanted to do, and feeling so blessed that retirement had finally arrived. Then, the unexpected happened. We'd been living in the house for about 6 months, enjoying ourselves immensely, and feeling ever so fortunate to be in the position we were in. Then, we received a strange letter in the post. It was addressed to the company, and it was all in Thai. But then you went to know what it said. We really needed to know what it said. We went to an agent on the island and got them to translate it, and to our horror, it was from the Thai shareholder, saying that they wanted to sell their share of the property. We couldn't quite understand what was going on. We bought the whole thing, but here she was claiming that she owned half of it and wanted to sell it. We immediately got in touch with our lawyer in Bangkok, who told us not to worry. She couldn't do anything because she didn't have full voting rights, but she was the director, which made us concerned. We left it with the lawyer, who contacted us back a few days later, saying that she had since divorced from her husband and didn't want to play ball anymore. She wanted 5 million baht for her share of the company that we had already bought. We were extremely concerned by this. Although we thought everything was set up legally and we were protected, to our dismay, it turns out that the preference shares that we were promised had been set up had not actually been set up properly. Don't ask me why or how this happened, but she could in essence outvote us, and she knew she could, which is why we got the letter. There was no way we could afford to give her any money at all, and then who would be the Thai shareholder after that? Our retirement had quickly turned into a nightmare. It's funny how one day you can be living your best life, enjoying yourself to the max, feeling so fortunate for the life you're living. Then the next day, you're hit with the realization that everything that you've worked your whole life for was now in jeopardy, at the hands of what seemed to be someone who was not willing to play ball. Our lawyer advised we arrange a meeting with her and her lawyer to discuss what to do. I would have thought that we could sue our lawyer for not doing things properly, but the more we looked into it, we realised that technically you're not even allowed to circumvent land ownership laws by forming a company for the sole purpose of doing so. So even if we complained, chances are things wouldn't go our way. All these realisations that came to us over those few days, it was really a big question of why we'd even choose to come to Thailand in the first place. We could have bought the exact same house in Malaysia and owned it legally ourselves, but we didn't. We flew up to Bangkok a few days later for the meeting with the lawyer, and he apologised profusely that the preference shares had not been set up correctly. He explained it away as being the paperwork was signed, but it was never submitted to the government office, or something along those lines. Something so ridiculous that if it happened in our own country, we'd have full recourse. But here, as we were using grey areas to be able to own the property, we technically couldn't do that at all. The lady who was the 51% shareholder claimed that we had only bought 49% of the house. She still owned 51% of it, and looking back, she never really in any of the meetings that we came to when we were buying the property. Just her signature on a few pieces of paper. But what she was saying legally was true. She owned 51% of the company, was the director of it, and therefore owned 51% of our house, and she wanted that 51%. That meeting was the most surreal experience I'd ever faced. Two Thai lawyers arguing with each other, and a Thai lady screeching at the top of her voice when things were not perceived to be going her way. At the end of it, our lawyer said to us that they had agreed if we pay 1 million baht, she would sign her 51% over to someone else. Our hearts skipped a beat when we heard this. We didn't have that kind of money to just throw at the problem, and explained to the lawyer that we'd already bought the house. He explained again how things had gone wrong with the buying process and the preference shares, and we quickly were told that we were lucky that she was prepared to accept 1 million. The question we kept asking a lawyer was who would be the 51% shareholder, and how could we make sure this wouldn't happen again. He told me he could find someone to be the shareholder, and it would be made sure that things would be set up properly this time, so it couldn't happen again. So, we were left with a very difficult choice. Not pay the money and have the house sold from under us and end up losing 150,000 euros, or pay 1 million baht to fix the problem and have her go away. In the end, we decided we had to pay up. We had no choice, and handing over that money to her was one of the worst feelings we've ever had to experience. But it had to be done. The company was set up properly after that, and we haven't had any problems since. But that was an awful experience, one that could have been avoided if we knew the rules better, and made sure things were done properly without relying on lawyers that you cannot have any recourse towards when things go wrong. I suppose because we were in the grey area of foreigners trying to circumvent the land ownership laws, things were a lot more difficult. We couldn't just go and complain about it, and because of that, it made things difficult. We didn't know this before we decided to buy, so please do take that into consideration. When the whole process was done, we were relieved that we still had the house, and things were now legally set up, so nothing could be done to extract any more money from us. But you'll never guess what happened after this. The lawyer sent us a bill for his last work. We expected him to do it for free due to his error, but no, he sent us a bill for 37,000 baht. We spoke to him and asked him if he was joking. It was his error with the preference shares and not doing whatever he should have done that caused us to lose this money. Surely he shouldn't have done this work for free as an apology. But he said, "Thailand no can do." Those exact words. I know many people dream of retiring in a foreign destination, buying that dream property and living the life that you've always wanted to, after a whole life's hard work. We were no different and wanted to do the same, and we did it. Looking back at this over 8 years ago now, and in hindsight, I suppose we were lucky to have got away with only having to pay 1 million baht when she could have legally got more. But deep down, I think she knew what she was doing was wrong, but wanted some money anyway. Be very careful if you're getting involved with property in Thailand. We often ask ourselves the question, would we do the same thing again if we had our time again? And we wouldn't. We would have probably moved to Malaysia instead. Anyone interested in Malaysia, you can own property outright in your own name as a foreigner, as long as it's valued over a certain amount of money. While Penang was high on our list, we found Samui to be our perfect destination, so we overlooked the foreign ownership restrictions, and looking back, we used a very precarious grey area loophole in order to buy an expensive property. We know many people that do this and have never had issues, but only a month ago, someone living close by lost their property altogether due to some technical issue with the company that they had. They even came to say goodbye to us and wished us well. It must be sad that when things go wrong like this, it is not the norm. Most people are going to have no problems and no issues, but things can happen and will happen, so it's about trying to mitigate any future issues by making sure you use a proper lawyer. I thought our lawyer was a proper lawyer, but he can't have been a good one, and understanding the rules and regulations yourselves before you dive in. We're lucky in the sense that we're still living here, and we're not expecting any issues moving forwards, because everything was eventually done properly. But it took it being done wrong first for us to know what properly even meant. So be careful out there. Thailand is an amazing place, and we love living here to this day, and it's a paradise. But it does come with its issues and problems that you have to be ready to face. All the best, Bernard.